This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dhanlakshmi. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, I'd like to welcome you all to this online meeting. Please take a moment to review the guidelines for this online meeting posted in the chat window. I now request the moderator, Mr. Lakshmi, to introduce the speaker and start the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dhanlakshmi. Good evening, everyone. I am Lakshmipati. I will be moderating this meeting. Agricultureinformation.com likes to welcome to this meeting Dr. Vidur Sahgal, the proprietor of Original Mechanization and Data Integrated Consultancy, OMDIC, New Delhi. Dr. Vidur Sahgal will be speaking on the topic, the Indian National Water Pipeline Grid. I now request the speaker to begin.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
For introducing me. I hope all of you can hear me. And
Yes,
good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before I begin this, I must admit that I was inspired by the minister, Mr. K.L. Rao, who was the pioneer in the river linking scheme. So when I heard about the river linking scheme, I got thinking, and by 2009, July, I had conceived this project report, the Indian National Water Pipeline Grid, in being more efficient than the river linking river linking scheme, only for the reason of last mile connectivity. So this paper was presented to the Ministry of Water Resources in the hope of getting a fee, which I never got and still haven't, but that doesn't matter now. And I think it started getting funding in 2014 or 15, and I believe now a lot of work of interconnecting urban areas within themselves with pipelines to deliver water has been completed. So now I'd like to, completed under the AMRUT scheme, the Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation. That's what AMRUT is, AMRUT. So now I'd like to begin the Indian National Water Pipeline Grid presentation. So the requirements of this pipeline grid which is similar to the electricity grid, where areas of surplus electricity, the electricity is directed to those areas which have less electricity. Very similar. And the requirements are that we have to identify all the freshwater bodies, the rainfall data and statistics, and then line them up as normal, low water or high water. And then we have to identify all the rivers, whether they're perennial or seasonal or they're dammed up in portions, lakes, reservoirs, existing canals, groundwater, and desalination plants. And then we have some other methods of collecting water, and that is the ship-shore connected portable floating pan collecting rainwater falling on the coastal sea or ocean surfaces only when it is raining and the seas are calm enough. And this water collected in the floating pan is piped onshore. Then we can identify locations along the coast where the ocean water and the groundwater are just separated by the shore, you can say. And if we can get good water membrane technology, then you can sieve out all the unwantables and bring it into the groundwater. So this is a long shot, but there could be locations, and there's no harm in looking for them. Now, after we do all this, we have to list all the sources of fresh waters, and then we have to identify the dependency or the reliability from each of the sources of fresh water. And the more dependable a contributing source of fresh water, the more care will be taken to maintain, augment this contributing source. Then after that, we need 3D real-time imaging of the INWPG with the help of a few ISRO satellites. In 2009, when I talked to ISRO's Hyderabad office, they were very supportive. And now there's a lot of data collected on rainfall and amongst 300 or 400 cities and towns and villages all across the country. Now, once we have all the data and real-time data also, then all these available permutations and combinations of water can be simulated on the computer or on the mainframe, not computer, to monitor and intelligently locate and drive the water pipeline grid based on various and actual real-time water scenarios. And these will shape this grid. After that, we have, I've bifurcated the relevant types of water and pipelines in the sense that code blue pipelines will be fresh water for edible, washing, and human and animal purpose only. And before I mention the other code colors, note that all these pipelines will be maximum 2 feet diameter plastic pipes. We need to use the installed capacities of petroleum and use them in plastic pipes to set up this grid, you see. And then this is just a digression here, but now code green is agricultural water, code yellow is industrial water and water for laundry, code red is polluted, dirty water which needs recycling and resupply, and code orange is the first kind of pipeline which should be laid, and that is these pipelines, orange pipelines, will control or dissipate a flood from forming. However, the water and flood mafia have to be included in the monetary equation in some way so that they give way to set up this grid, pipeline grid, water pipeline grid. Now, we have to, based on the type of water usages, we would have to determine how much water we would allocate on a per capita basis. And these allocations should be generous enough, and the basis of allocation will always be efficient usage of allocated waters. We will not tolerate wastage of water. For example, farmers just start the tube well and just forget about it till the entire field is flooded or there's enough water. So there's a lot of irresponsible activity where water is concerned, and that has to be curbed, and people have to be educated about it, that look, it's for everybody's interest that water should be managed well. Now, once these numbers of per capita water consumption and types of consumptions are determined, then the required supply paradigms are fed into the data and statistical parameters of the grid. After that, now the INWPG will be a bi-directional pipe with portable emergency fail-safe bypass capabilities. Using the data, statistics, 3D imagery, and computer simulation scenarios, the pipeline will be laid into an all-weather climate natural calamity-proof water grid all across the country. The water grid will also interface with seasonal requirements of real-time farming activities and will deliver water on demand as per the seasonal requirements. As such, sowing, growing, and the types of cropping information will be made timely available as the water grid situation develops during a season. Crop type may be made mandatory as actual water availability may dictate this. For example, in north and northeast of Madhya Pradesh are various river basins which regularly flood every year during the monsoons, even in Bihar, and that too from rivers originating in Nepal. So these create floods in Bihar, UP, and Madhya Pradesh. So using a topography study to see the natural flows of water from these rivers, we could connect the overflows via underground clusters of heavy-duty plastic pipelines, with each pipeline leading into a web of pipelines for water supply to a plant, a rice or wheat plant in an agricultural field, a municipal water supply department, or for laundry, okay, and other industrial uses. So this is the example I'm trying to show you where this will work over a river linking scheme, because this provides last mile connectivity besides other efficiencies which I will dwell on later. Now, relevance in agriculture. If pipe web overflows, water can be diverted into the underground groundwater reservoirs, from where it can be pumped out using solar driven pumps. And for this, there will have to be extensive groundwater studies and, lots of modeling based on different real parameters will have to be studied, and the pipe web would have to be able to cater to all these simulated scenarios. I mean, for example, water can be brought into the central India groundwater reservoirs via pipe all the way to Tamil Nadu. The offtake of water from these Northeast India and Bangladesh areas where water is in real excess will lessen the annual flood impact on these areas, meaning Bangladesh and Northeast India, and allow 2 or maybe 3 crops of extra grain to be cultivated and harvested. This would impact the pricing of rice as well as the supply of rice. So, speaking in the same parameter, why is rice grown in Punjab, Haryana, and Western UP, especially since it requires huge amount of irrigation resources? This water could be used to green Rajasthan first, and rice can be considered later in Punjab, Haryana, and Western UP. The eastern and northeastern areas in the Indian subcontinent are more suited to growing rice. This has to be noted and made public, And there are other schemes also part of this water sourcing, and that is we'll have to collaborate with China on trying to divert their snow melt and the excess water from the plateau, from the Tibetan plateau nearby areas, if their gradients allow, or make these pipelines underground, under the Himalayas, and into the groundwater of Himachal, Punjab, and Haryana. This could be, if we do our research right, the source or follow the Saraswati River, which might be underground now. So this could be, if this could be connected, that would be a very good source of water for Punjab, Haryana, and Himachal Pradesh, especially for Punjab, Haryana, and Western Uttar Pradesh for growing rice and wheat and these crops, which should not be grown currently there. Now, it takes 1,000 liters of water to grow 1 kg of wheat. How much water would it take to grow 1 kg of wheat using drip irrigation? Globally, 70% of the water requirements are for agricultural purpose. Agriculture as is not commercially viable, especially if you assign a cost to water that is required to grow a crop. It makes sense to set up recommended pipeline grids and mobilize local nalas within a small farm that can be converted into pipelines. Drip irrigation would be far more efficient in water usage. A one-time investment in setting up these pipelines, plastic greenhouses, plastic drip irrigation systems, all this would utilize the installed capacities of crude petroleum, which are spread all across the world. And even in the, for example, in the UAE and in the Middle East, they could green their entire desert areas by another scheme of mine, which is called the ballast replacement operation with fresh water. That is when a ship comes laden with 250,000 metric tons of crude oil at, say, Mundra port. Then when it goes back, it takes ballast and sails back. Ballast seawater. I'm saying replace the ballast seawater. As you pump the oil out, you pump in fresh water from, say, the Narmada River just before it enters the sea. Treatment and cleaning the water will also be there. But this water can be sent to the Middle East. Of course, they can utilize their crude petroleum to set up huge desalination plants and cater to their own water requirements as they green their deserts. Israel is nearby with the technology for greenhouses, and there should be, I think, peaceful discussions and business meetings to, take advantage of this situation which is being suggested. Now, execution of this INWPG is basically you have to identify micro entities which will have a predetermined identification criteria. In my example, I've said, say, a village or a population of 10,000 people, or say an area of 10,000 acres or more, any micro entity which the scientists and the statisticians decide on, in consensus to, decide how much water has to be supplied to that micro entity. And this should cover the entire country. Now, each micro entity will have to be supplied and serviced with all types of water. Existing water infrastructure will be assessed, upgraded, and absorbed into the grid in a seamless manner where there will be no distinctive difference between the old infrastructure and the new water grid. As such, various types of water requirements will be quantified and projected, and the water grid will be designed and mandated to deliver these quantities across time. The water grid will be designed to be executed as the water requirements are determined. Picking and filter facilities for different pipeline color codes to maintain continuous flows of water and water color code quality parameters to be predetermined and measured, maintained by a manner of relevant water treatment capacities. Pre-pipeline web entry, water issues, systems and treatment, along with post-exit water issues, systems and treatment will have to be determined and resolved. Pumping and treatment to be preferably primarily powered by solar energy, but location-based, most convenient, efficient backup power to be installed also, including micro hydroelectric power stations. Here I'd like to digress. There's no need for hydroelectric dams in this country. I mean, China has shown over the course of the last 2 years that hydroelectric dams have created havoc all across the China country. So we need these pipelines. I mean, and once we have these pipelines in place, small mini hydroelectric dams for pumping purposes or reservoirs can be allowed, should be allowed, but no hydroelectric dams, because they are a security risk, and B, they are also an environment risk also. Now, the INPG will be a monopoly, allowed monopoly, which will have the ideal mix of public, private, joint, and government sectors to efficiently and optimally deliver a service and product of water to the population of the sum of micro entities. Now, if you notice, this is a national project. The Indian national water pipeline grid will be spread all across the country. So there will be a lot of employment generated, local employment. For example, you can begin with guards of the pipeline. Every 500 yards or 1,000 yards, the guard come plumber will be given a job to take care of his 1 kilometer of pipeline, and they will all have to coordinate. And then you will have all sorts of other jobs, like the water officer, who will report all the water parameters to the headquarter of INWPG, and software engineers, pigging engineers, filter engineers, laying the pipeline, repairing the pipeline. There are so many possibilities of jobs in this national water pipeline grid, and I'm sure it will beat the number of jobs that the highways and roads ministry is creating, and most of the materials and equipment required for the INWPG can be made locally. I mean, Atmanirbhar Bharat. So, we have no problem with this project actually. And now I will come down to the pipeline issues. The pipeline issues are basically material type, where I've recommended heavy duty plastics. Then they should be overground, underground, suspended, level, the gradients, the pipe sizes, the pipe size required, water flows and integration nodes and systems, the pipe hierarchy, large pipes or to all the small pipes, and the water flow controls and paradigms will have to be calculated, and accordingly the pipeline will work right to the last drops of water that it drips on a rice plant or a wheat plant. So the pipe quality parameters must be of the highest standard. Specific criteria for should be established for laying the course and capacity of a pipeline. Pumps and pumping technology, including powering pumps technologies, filters and filtering technologies, and such and so on. Now, I want to make a note on existing canals and nalas, which I might have brought up earlier also. Existing canals can be filled up with these 2-3 feet diameter pipe clusters, delivering water as before, but more efficiently. And at the same time, the land surface of these clusters, which are filled up in the nalas, can be filled up and even farmed upon. Note, there's evaporation, there is canal side leakages or thieving of the water or utilizing the water. I won't say thieving, but usage of the water along the path of the canal. So all this, doesn't actually translate into if you pump 10 liters or if you let loose 10 liters, for example, from the source of the canal, that 10 liters reaches the destination of the canal. So, but the pipeline will deliver water or be pumped in water depending on consumption, which will again also have to be calculated. And then the conclusion of this, after this presentation, is that there are 2 rules of this pipeline: that it will supply all types of waters that are required on its route in exchange for permission to move the pipeline either over, on, or under the land that it winds through. It is to be noted that there never has been a shortage of freshwater supply by snowmelt or monsoon or rain, but there has been a critical lack of management of such waters. We have to address this management of freshwater in an absolutely efficient and optimal manner. The Indian National Water Pipeline Grid will be made to last, and its capital and variable expenditure requirements to execute this will see to that. There will be no shortage of money for this project. I mean, last I read about it, they had allocated 9 lakh crores towards piping water in urban cities and villages. And after that, I wanted to mention something, but I forgot what it was. So I will have to end the presentation here. And if there is time, take questions. But do note that I'm not a technical person. I'm a macroeconomist. And this project I thought of and wrote as a macroeconomist. money is never going to be a problem for this. In fact, the greenhouses, the drip irrigation, and the pipelines should all be infrastructure development by the government of India for the farmers all across the fertile lands of our nation, which have now become poisoned by the use of chemicals and fertilizers, but can be reclaimed by setting up greenhouses. It could be made compulsory that farming has to be done in a greenhouse, and all the funding and all the jobs that this will create will put, because I mean, the reason it's agriculture as it is 50 or 60% of our GDP, of our workforce, and about 18 or 20% of our GDP. So if more money is put into this farming, then IOC or a Hindustan Petroleum or a Bharat Petroleum type of government company, instead of selling petrol, diesel, and kerosene, they could sell e-batteries and vegetables and fruits, which they get from their plastic farms or from farmers' plastic farms. And petrol pumps could be the locations of this battery changing and charging and supply of veggies and fruits from these once upon a time petrol stations, which can be delivered home in e-vehicles. So there's a lot that can be done. Emissions will come down because everything will be electric or solar or hydrogen. Many promising facilities are there already in the labs, and the Indian National Water Pipeline Grid will assist all this. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I will conclude my presentation here. I hope you've enjoyed it and seen the vision, and I am open to any questions if you would choose to ask.
Thank you, Dr. Vidur Sahgal, for an excellent detailed presentation. I now request the participants to ask their questions. We'll also be posting the speaker's contact details in the chat window. Now over to the participants for questions. Any questions? Participants, if you have any questions, please ask. Otherwise, you can even ask them after the meeting also. Any questions? Mr. Sudhiranjan Mandal has got a question. Yes, Mr. Sudhiranjan. Mr. Sudhiranjan, please pose your question. Mr. Sudhiranjan, you are logged in from two devices. Maybe you need to log off from one device so that we can hear you. We are not able to hear you. Yes, Mr. Sudhiranjan.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Dr. Vidur, to the wonderful presentation. Actually, I wanted to know two things. One is, what is the dia of the pipe which is by which the water comes?
What is
the diameter of the pipe? What is the size?
Like if you see the concrete pipes and the steel pipes, the dia is a lot more. But I'm talking about plastic pipes. So the dia can be less, but there can be clusters of pipes. For the same volume of water as a big concrete or a steel pipe, you could use smaller dia plastic pipes.
There was some project called the Garland Canal Scheme when I was young. That is this the year of that, successor of that?
I have mentioned at the beginning of my presentation that I owe homage to Mr. K.L. Rao, who was the original pioneer of the river garlanding canal. But my opinion is that the Indian National Water Pipeline Grid is a superior system than the river garlanding canal.
Yes, Mr. Sudhiranjan, your questions are finished?
Yes, thank you, doctor. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, other questions,
Yes,
please.
doctor.
Questions from other
Thank you.
participants?
Thank you, Mr. Lakshmipati.
Thank you, Mr. Sudhiranjan. Any other questions? Mr. Joseph Brito has got something to ask.
Thank you, Mr. Lakshmipati. Thank you,
Welcome.
Dr. Vidur Sahgal, for a very nice presentation. But frankly, do you think that if all the political, economical, rather physical and inter-country, interstate uh, specialists all join together, will this project come through in the next, say, 1 or 2 decades?
Well,
What are the hurdles? What are the hurdles?
Work is already begun in Amrat, AMRUT, and it's a question of, I mean, diplomatic effort, and the Ministry of Water Resources has to take the lead in, developing the necessary national and international consensus on setting up this grid. So there's a lot of work to be done. If you're saying there's no employment, you're wrong. It's a question of there's so much employment that it's mind-boggling, and work to be done, especially in water. I mean, you can't have the toilets first without water. Okay, so first water comes, then toilets come.
True.
Okay,
We hope this will happen. Thank you very much, Dr. Vidur.
Okay,
Welcome
thank you. Welcome. Any other questions, please? Any other questions? Okay, that is all we have for the day. I now would like to thank the speaker, Dr. Vidur Sahgal, on behalf of Agriculture Information, for taking his time to speak with us. I now request the organizer of the meeting, Ms. Dhanalakshmi, to please close the meeting. Thank you.
Dhanalakshmi, can you tell me how many people were present on this webinar?
So there were around 10 people, right, Mr. Lakshmipati?
10 people. Okay.
Yeah. And we will also be posting the record of this meeting will be uploaded in our website. So there are audience who will be listening to your talk offline also.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lakshmipati. I like to thank Dr. Vidur Sahgal for taking the time to talk with us. I also like to thank all the participants for their time. This meeting will now be closed.